Hey guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So as always, check out my articles on Brave New Coin, lots of those every week. Try to do 3 a week. Let's talk about some Bitcoin, if you will. It's not a Carpe Noctem video without talking about the quarterly chart, which is looking pretty ripe, if I do say so myself. If you've never seen this before, you've either been living under a rock or you're not following me on Twitter, so go do that right now. But basically the premise is every quarter alternating since 2015 when the bull market started. Every quarter has either been an up or a sideways downish sort of situation. This is probably one of the examples where that really wasn't the case. But basically it's really a strong move up versus just kind of resetting itself a couple times. And lo and behold, look where we're at. Now we are in a new quarter, April 1st, and we're starting to move up finally. Now there are some issues with this hypothesis in general, but the biggest thing is that we're still below the 200 moving day average and there's a death cross here. So that's something to watch for throughout the quarter. If we get a golden cross, if we get a bullish 5200 cross here, that would be just a mounting evidence, as we're mounting evidence that things are shifting back to the bullish direction. If you ask Tom Lee, Fundstrat, he is still of the mindset that we are in a bull market. I don't agree with that fully, but I think we're getting there. So there's definitely obviously a bear trend here. So let's get to some other stuff. This is a weekly doubled cloud. Now I'm going to talk about doubled cloud, I'll talk about singled cloud, I'll talk about mainly the daily, because I see a lot of stuff going on the daily, as in reading the tea leaves. So here's the weekly, and you can see, I said this when we were, if you go back and watch these videos when we were in here, I said as soon as we drop all the Kijun, it gets kind of a big question mark, because it's not clear where support is on the weekly. There's support levels on the daily and everything else, but it was just so obvious that since 2015 on the weekly, we bounced every single time until we didn't. And then we're here, and it's like, will she or won't she type thing, right? Not only that, but the oscillators are saying the same kind of thing where it's like, it's below the 50. I don't know much about RSI, but what I do know is, based on what I'm seeing here, that during 2015 onward, we were heavily above the 50 and bounced on the 50 several times as we were bouncing on the Kijun. So that makes sense. Things are sort of resetting. Momentum is resetting. If you look at this as an oscillator where 50 is 0 and this is negative 50, this is positive 50, okay. If you look at it like that, this just says 50 is no momentum, not oversold, not overbought, nothing. And we're basically there now, but again, we're kind of meandering below the Kijun, above the cloud, kind of directionless. Obviously, we're headed down, but as far as trend specifically is concerned, much harder to determine what's going on. And if you look at the RSI, it's above and below. What's going to happen here? It did the similar thing here, where it sort of tried to break above, and we got a continuation here. I don't know how to read this other than those are some things I'm looking at with RSI. What I will be looking for is price to exceed the Kijun and also exceed the 50, which shouldn't be too hard if price is back to 10K. This will most likely breach, and that will signal a new trend, the beginning of the trend. Certainly it's not a trend flip like it was here, where it was full bear and then it went full bull. This is more of a complete bull reset. Whether or not that'll mean we'll hit 33K by July or 250K by 2020, I don't know, but it does show you that momentum has reset. All this craziness completely reset, wiped off the table. That tells me, again, that we've got room to grow, right? The R&R on a long is great. The R&R on a short, probably not so great just because we've dropped 70%, but equally as profitable based on RSI alone. So moving to Stoke, I don't talk about Stoke too much. I usually use it only on higher time frames, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that this is crossing at the bottom. We're not really in the clear until we cross the 20 line, whatever this is. You can see it happened several times where things looked like they were okay, they were bouncing, and then they didn't. This setup very reminiscent for what's going on here. I'm not the first person, I'm not the last person to tell you that. But that's the sort of thing that I'm looking at, and I'll talk about that a lot more on the daily. But overall, this looks really good for a bounce just based on the stoke. And these are both default settings. I get a lot of people asking me that. You can double the settings. I haven't really played around with it too much. For me, if anything on any setting tells me what I want to see, and backtesting shows it's correct, and it matches the confluence with other indicators, I don't mess with it. So 14, 28, whatever you want to do, let me know if it's better or worse, but I just stick to the default. So here's weekly singled cloud, and I use the singled cloud on higher time frames, usually daily and weekly for Bitcoin, specifically when I'm looking for more information or I'm looking to see things a little quicker than I can on the doubled. So you can see you essentially get the same picture as you did on the weekly. We're getting these bounces on the Kijun. They're not as perfect, as beautiful, as serene. You know, they get better up here. But overall, very similar to the doubled in this case. What I am seeing here is a bearish TK cross, which is not on the single settings. Okay, so if we are gonna moonshot, I'd expect a bullish TK cross first. That's one thing to look for in the weeks to come. So within the quarter, again, if we're thinking we're going to moon this quarter, within the quarter we're going to get some sort of TK cross here on the weekly. That would mean that we moved really high really quick. So I don't know if it'll happen this quarter, but something to look for. You can also see cloud is bearish, so cloud will also move in the bullish direction. You're going to get a bullish twist. I've said this before, but if you're looking for an entry, you always want to see everything reset, which is why that RSI thing I was talking about with momentum resetting is what you want to see when you're looking for an entry. On these weekly settings, this is what I want to see. I want to see everything go completely just the opposite direction. You know, it's either a 1 or a 0, it's on or off, it's bullish or bearish. This is bearish, this is bearish. It's above the cloud, so it's bullish in that respect, but these two metrics here will flip, should flip if we're going to moonshot, okay? And I'm just pointing out these areas where we had this TK recross above or below the cloud, and we just you know, went complete bear for a little while, immediately in this case. And this was probably the best entry you could have gotten. You know, October. If you weren't in on the break of the ascending triangle, you know, this was the entry based on the weekly cloud, singled, okay? And that's the sort of thing you're looking for here. Another cross recross. All right, let's talk about the daily. There's a lot here. If you can understand this, you can understand most of what I do as far as trading, most of what most people do as far as indicators and technicals in general, okay? Let me first talk about the cloud parts. So bearish TK cross sort of happened during the candle, so not going to help you out too much, whatever. But the point is there was a long flat Kumo here, 30 periods in advance, and this happens when price makes a high or low and does not make a higher high or low and just stays in a range. When we stay in a range, we will make this flat Kumo. When we make the flat Kumo, the probability of reaching for or touching that area extremely high, okay? Keep that in mind. So we do this fancy business, and you know, we go way oversold. Why can I say that? Because you know, we are far away from the Kijun. And you can see we come back to the Kijun, we get 2 tests, perfect with wicks, and Josh still effed that up himself. Didn't sell in either case as much as I should have for those, but those are the most beautiful thing. Like you know, it's the Swiss Alps. You're waking up, there's fog rolling slowly. You got your coffee, your Nespresso. I don't know what they drink over there. You know, you got your ski gear on, you're ready for the day, and then that's the picture that this was, yet I did nothing. Good men watched Bitcoin die and doing nothing. And I'm pointing that out here, double Kijun bounces. Okay, that's what we got. We got bearish Kijun bounces. We got a bullish TK cross, followed by a bearish, and boom, again, down. So now, that leaves us to where we are now. I always try to, you know, give you a little lead in. People tell me, oh, you're always saying up or down, whatever. You're never giving a clear call. That's not what TKT is about anyway. So what am I looking at here? I'm looking for these Kijun bounces at this Kijun currently. Okay, that's going to be the make or break point. If we reach for this, which we should at this point, in some capacity, either that's going to be the price reaching for the Kijun, or price is just going to meander around and Kijun is going to meet price. Okay, in these two cases, price went straight for the Kijun and the Kijun said not today and smacked it down. Okay, that's the same thing I'm looking for here. If this gets smacked down again, it's bear city. If it doesn't get smacked down again, that opens the opportunity for what's known as an edge-to-edge trade, wherein a candle close in the cloud gives you a target on the opposite edge of the cloud. Now this excites me because it's so big. Big things excite most people, okay? This just says that the R&R on a long here is insane. You're going from 8K, what is it, 8,200 to 12.8, okay? That's like four grand. I don't know what the percentage, like 50%. I don't know. It's massive, okay? It's big. Massive trade. So I'll be watching this in the next couple weeks. So immediately when we get a touch or a reversal or a denial at the Kijun here, we'll know what's going on pretty much for the next couple days, okay? We're going to get one of these things where it's not a TK cross, but it's just a bearish continuation signal like these both were, okay? Now there are lots of other things on this chart that are interesting. We have an Adam-Eve potentially, that's a V and a U, which is a double bottom reversal sign. Hasn't formed yet. I don't have volume on here. Volume on the index doesn't look great in general for a variety of reasons, but it doesn't necessarily fit the descending volume profile. I don't believe this candle was kind of like the biggest volume ever based on some metrics and estimates. So there's that. There's a bullish divergence, meaning we went and made a lower low, but RSI did not, and you can argue whether or not it should be on a higher time frame to see this divergence, whatever. The point is we made a lower low. We didn't go lower on momentum. If this is the divergence playing out, maybe, but I think we're going to see some more bullish action, again, towards at least the Kijun, okay? Other thing on here, yearly pivot, interestingly enough, almost identical to where we got denied at the Kijun twice. So if this edge-to-edge does trigger, I'd expect a pit stop at this zone. The probability of us just moonshotting 4K, not too high. You know, it can go up and down and then eventually reach this target. That's the target I'm looking for if we break the cloud. And then in regards to the Adam and Eve measured move plus 1618 fib, this is the resistance zone. This is the maximum bullishness I'd be expecting should all this play out as planned, which, who knows, this is weeks out, okay? But this is the roadmap I'm looking for in my head mentally on the chart. These checkpoints, these pain points, these reversal points, all this stuff. The most bullish thing we can see would be an edge-to-edge trade triggering with a bullish TK cross. Now I almost expect here to be an E-to-E trigger without the TK cross. We sort of like get a fake out and move down. That's down the road. We'll see what happens. And if you're not familiar with edge-to-edge trades, this whole thing on the weekly was an edge-to-edge trade, okay? We breached the cloud. You can see before we had the TK cross bullish, it sort of pulled back. So we could see the same thing on the daily. The thing with the least probability at the moment is that we just straight up reverse back down and make lower lows. That's just unlikely based on what I'm seeing with the cloud. You're expecting mean reversion just like we expected it here. We expected it the whole way down here. Same thing here. Here's the daily singled, and interestingly enough, the edge-to-edge lines up with a thinning in the cloud, which is an opportunity for price to shoot through because there's no resistance there. If you think of these support resistances like hard, semi-sockwood support resistance lines, when there's nothing there, when it's cellophane, okay, we can go through it. That's what this is saying. Some people like singled, some people like doubled. I like doubled because it literally lays out the entire trade for you. Here's the entry, here's the exit. End of story. I don't have to think about it. Here, the exit's a little murkier. You know, you have to realize that there's ledges in the cloud that you're looking for as far as targets are concerned, which is fine. I just prefer everything to be laid out. I don't think about it, you know, straight shooter. Here's daily, some Pitchfork madness. So we were in this massive descending Pitchfork, which never really got an opportunity to test the median line. I would have liked it better if it tested the median line. I've tried to draw this like a million different ways, and this is kind of the best I could get. I'd much prefer to capture more of this stuff in the Pitchfork, but this is what I settled with. So it is what it is. But the point is, we had several days of, near-death experience. NDE. Have you ever seen the OA on Netflix? Interesting series, you should watch it. Some of it's kind of bogus, but anyway. We had this NDE week of, we could have, if we would have broke this, guaranteed we would have hit this median line. Guaranteed. But by breaching the bearish Pitchfork, we've bullishly invalidated it, in my mind. And in the minds of every Pitchfork aficionado. So what does that tell me here? That we now have an opportunity to reach for the median line on the bull Pitchfork. And yes, these wings are massively outside of the normal Pitchfork. The normal Pitchfork is literally this. This red, that's the normal zone for a Pitchfork, okay? This yellow stuff. These wings are added because Bitcoin does stuff, okay? It goes crazy. There are other ways to draw these Pitchforks. This makes the most sense. That this, it exceeded it farther than 1618 to like 2.5, okay? And it pulled back. So is this voodoo magic? I don't know, but it's the same thing here as here. It's 2.5 both sides. I didn't draw these. I just put in a point and it draws it. So that tells me there's something going on here. I kind of think of it as it's got this elasticity to it, where if it just shoots up, it's got this physical momentum potential, energy potential to shoot back down, like a pendulum. So it goes up, it can shoot down. It goes way up, it can go way down. In my head, that's just how I see it. Alright, so July, 33K. No brainer. Follow me on Twitter if you don't know why that's the case. That's what I'm expecting. And again, if we break this pivot, we're looking at 22K, 20K, something like that. Which is insane when I say it out loud, but that's what I'm looking at. I don't know if it'll happen this quarter, we'll see. I'm optimistic. Last few charts here, daily again, death cross, you're looking for a golden cross, a recross basically of these two for an entry. Here's the 4-hour cloud. You can see how it was bearish, 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 and we're getting an opportunity finally for everything to flip bullish. Cloud's going to flip bullish here, and price is finally above the cloud, similar to this situation. We had this opportunity up in here to keep going, and we didn't. I'll be looking for the same type of thing here, except using the daily Kijun as the resistance line. And the 4-hour 5200 will show you that same sort of thing, a lot more lagging. So, this will cross eventually, like it did here, but you can see how late that was. But this is just one more thing if you're looking for confluence of bullishness, where we're going. So I did a podcast with Peter. Check that out. I'll link that in the description. Pretty interesting. And like I said, follow me on Twitter. Almost 200K. Pretty exciting. Don't know what to do. Probably going to have balloons involved. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter, and happy trading.